Hey, so I want to make this video here. This is about actually being a salesperson when it comes to selling insurance and not just being an order taker. So the reason I bring this up is I get agents all the time who are like, oh, I'm not going to try to sell this person if they can't tell me why they want it. Or, I asked them, I couldn't find a need or whatever the case is. So I didn't present to them. I didn't try to quote them, or I just kind of went through it and tried to, go through it quickly. Now, if you're already a top producer and you're making a lot of money doing that, then look, maybe this video isn't for you. But if you're not, that's very, very dangerous advice to take from someone, to just like not present to them or not quote them unless they have, like, I mean, it really comes down to this. Are you a salesperson? I mean, your job as a salesperson is to convince this person why they should buy your product. So when I hear people and I hear agents do this, they're like, oh, I'm not going to present to this person if they can't tell me why they want it, or if they don't have a need or something. Like, say hi to Leia right there too. Say hi to Poppy. Hey, Poppy. So, and I get the idea. Don't get me wrong. Like 100%, it's easier to sell to someone if they can tell you what their problem is. It's easier to sell to someone if they have a clearly defined why. And it's easier to sell to someone if they tell you like, hey, I need it for this reason or XYZ reasons. But you got to understand that the elite level salespeople are like, they're convincing people why they want it, even if the person doesn't think they want it. Okay, so you have to find their problem, and sometimes it's kind of asking them questions around what their problem would be to discover the problem and then tell them why you're there to solve it for them. So for instance, say you have someone who's like, oh yeah, I already have all my life insurance taken care of, my final expenses are all paid for, my plot, burial, everything's covered. And you find out they have a mortgage. Then you can be like, okay, well, who's going to pay for that mortgage, right? And or who's going to cover the mortgage when you die? Or if the house is paid off, right? Who's going to pay the taxes and the bills to keep the property up? And so like that's a reason for someone to get a policy, right? Because they would leave money behind to cover those final expenses. So make sure that like you're not picky and cherry picking and choosy about who you present to. I know that the person who presents to the most amount of people is going to make the most money. Like that's just usually how it goes, because they're going to get really good too. They're going to get a lot of practice. So the agents I have who get the most sales, they're usually presenting to the most amount of people. And especially if you're buying leads, like you can't be picky choosy like that. Like you got to try to sell everybody and hard close every single person that you talk to. If they're not an easier close where they tell you what they need it for and they get all emotional and they start crying about, their mom or their kids not having the money for their funeral and stuff like that. So make sure that as you're going through your presentations, guys, that you are really digging and you're being a sales person, right? We sell products to people. We convince people, like you have to be more convinced on why they need it and on why it's important than they are on why they don't need more insurance. Like there's always a reason for someone to get more insurance. And it could be as simple as, hey, just leave some extra money behind. Because I know that anybody on here, if you have kids, like you'll always want to leave behind more, right? If you had the choice, like why would you leave behind less, right? You always want to leave behind more. So always look for these reasons. Like just try to think outside the box. And if there's no reason, then say, hey, you don't even have to have a reason to get this. Like you can get this just to leave extra money behind for people. Like, and I guess that's the reason. I've sold life insurance to people who have no family. They don't care who takes care of it when they die. They're going to donate their body to science. And they're like, hey, I just want to leave this money behind to whoever, right? They'll leave it to their estate, whoever gets my estate, or maybe at some point in the future, I'll decide who to leave this money behind to. Because it's like, yo, you got a good deal now. Why don't you get it? You want to leave someone behind some money? Yeah, I do. Well, of course. So let's at least get something in place here. So like try to close every single person you talk to. You're going to miss 100% of the chances that you don't swing at, right? It's like when I get an agent coming to work for me, I give everyone a chance. I don't know who's going to be successful. Most of the people who join up who say, oh, I'm going to be so good, I'm the top agent, I sold health insurance and I crushed it, or, oh, I'm such a hard worker, most of them don't last. And it's usually the people who come in, they're quiet, they don't do anything, they work, they don't complain, they don't say anything, and they just apply what's in training and they work, that end up making it. But it's hard to tell, like it's it's hard to tell. So same thing, like I give everybody a shot, right, at this. And it's not because I want to have some sort of churn and burn like recruiting mill. That's not the point. The point is, like, I'm going to give you a shot. You got to give your clients a shot at buying a policy too. So apply the information that's out there in sales training courses and stuff about finding the need. You definitely want to ask those questions. You definitely want to build the need. You definitely want to figure out why they want it. And you definitely want to figure out what they might use the insurance for. But if you can't find a reason, then hammer them with objections and push them into a policy. Because there are policies that I've had in the books from when I started from people who I didn't think were going to buy. They hated me. They did not want to talk to me at all. They were pissed when I called. And they were pissed when they bought it. But they still pay their bill, right? But I wouldn't have ever had that chance if I didn't just go for it. So biggest thing is go for it and go big. Like if you're going to present policies to people, guys, you might as well quote high, right? You're never going to get a client that you quote for $70 a month who's going to be like, yeah, that's 70. What can I get for $400 a month? No one's going to say that. So you got to quote them really high. You got to start at those super high prices, because if you don't ask for that type of money, you're never going to get it. And I promise, if someone's serious about this, they're not going to hang up on you, right? They're not going to hang up on you and do that. So quote everybody. I like to say quote high, quote often. Do anything you can to get that presentation in. Remember, it comes in the greeting. It starts in the greeting. Okay, you have to handle the rebuttal that you get in the greeting, or the objection. It's usually going to be, I already have insurance. I'm not interested. I don't remember doing this, or I'm busy, I don't have time. I'm busy and I don't have time is a form of I'm not interested, because if they were interested enough, they would make the time for it immediately if it was that much of a priority. So handle those properly. If you don't have, you can go to my rebuttals page, rebuttalspage.com, and purchase access to it. It's like $40, I think, for lifetime access, $39, and you get access forever. So you can do that, and then you can have all those rebuttals there. For instance, if someone says, I'm not interested, hey, no worries. My job is to get you this information in the shortest amount of time possible, so you can make a decision whenever you're ready. I don't care what you do with the information. And then you keep going to your presentation. Then you go into your fact finding. Make sure you try to ask for the need, find the need, figure out what they qualify for, figure out who's important to them, figure out the financial situation, figure out who may need some sort of money when they die, present the solution, and close it. Up before you quote, that's the first half of the presentation. The second half is after you quote. So with the amount of effort and time that it took you to get to the quote, I want you to anticipate that's how much time it's going to take for you to close these people too. Now, a perfect presentation, if you ask all the right questions and everything, then obviously you're not going to have, it's not going to be a hard close, right? Because they've sold themselves already. And once you get good at asking those questions, that's going to happen. But go in, quote everybody, quote high. And yeah, and if you want to learn about how we do it on my team, just reach out to me. JVE@thejve.com. It's JVE@thejve.com. Hope you guys got some value in this. Thank you.